So, exercise number 5. You graduate from college and take a job at a consulting firm with a wage of $25 per hour. Your job is extremely flexible. You can choose to work any number of hours from 0 to 2,000 hours per year. Sub-exercise A. Suppose that there is an income tax of the following form. Income up to $10,000, no tax. So that's the first bracket. The second bracket is income from $10,000 to $30,000, which will be taxed with 20%. And the third bracket will be income from $30,000 and above, which will then be taxed with 30%. So we are asked to draw a graph in hours worked consumption space, and we are supposed to show our opportunity set with and without the tax system. And the question is, if we have this tax system, are there any points that you are particularly unlikely to choose? Why or why not? Okay. So, exercise number 5, and we need to draw a coordinate system again. So, we will have leisure is typically on the x-axis and consumption measured in dollars on the y-axis. So I will shift this whole thing again into this direction. And now we will kind of work us through the tax bracket. So let us kind of get to the points which are interesting here. So let me just shift this here. Okay, so what are interesting points? So the first interesting point is the point where you supply 400 hours of labor, which is then 1,600 hours of leisure, or $10,000 of income or consumption. So the maximum amount of leisure that we can have is $20,000. Sorry, it's 2,000, not dollars, but hours. 2,000 hours. Okay, that's the maximum amount of hours which we can work, and that's also the maximum amount of leisure that we can enjoy in this model. So yeah, before drawing the tax, the budget constraint for the tax system, of course, I forgot to first draw the budget constraint or the opportunity set for a situation without taxes. So if there wouldn't be any tax at all, what we could get is either a maximum of 2,000 hours of leisure, or we could get 2,000 hours of work times the $25 of wage, which is untaxed, and this will give us $50,000 of consumption. And if we connect the points, let's just choose a different color here. So this is the untaxed budget constraint. Now, let's go back to the tax budget constraint. So the first interesting point is as somewhere around here. So that's like 1,600. This will be somehow here. So at 1,600 hours of leisure, you work 400 hours, and this will give you $10,000 of consumption. because you earn the full $25 per hour without paying taxes. So this is somewhere here. So we have 10,000. The next interesting point is then given by $30,000, and this will correspond to 1,200 hours of labor, or 800 hours of leisure. And what you then will get is, so if you work for 1,200 hours, you can get a maximum of $26,000. So that's what you can get at most. So what you get is the first $10,000 is untaxed. Then the next $20,000 that you earn is taxed with 20%, so it's 0.8 times 20,000. And this should be, let me just be sure and calculate it correctly. This is then $26,000. Yes. So at 800 hours of leisure, which should be somewhere around here, we are somewhere here. Of course, we're not, sorry, I made a mistake. We are, of course, not, this was bad. Just 1 second, sorry. Because obviously, yeah, it will be somewhere around here. So it will not be exactly on the old budget constraint, obviously. It should be somewhere around here. So this is $26,000. Then if we connect the point, oops, the point here with the point there, what we get is kind of the new, or the deviation from the untaxed budget constraint. Yes, so it will be obviously lower because we have to pay taxes and therefore we have less opportunity to consume. And the final interesting point, so the y-intercept will be, yeah, at a point where we fully work and we do not enjoy any leisure at all. And this will be simply 10,000 plus 0.8 times 2,000, 20,000, sorry, plus 0.7 times 30,000. Yeah, and this is the remaining maximum, so the remaining amount to the maximum amount of gross income that we can get by fully working 2,000 hours per year. And if we add up all of those expressions, we end up with 40,000. And this is the maximum amount of income or consumption that we can get if we fully work and do not enjoy any leisure at all. And it's supposed to be somewhere around, yeah, again, the picture is not clean again, but let's simply say it's somewhere here. So if we then connect the 2 points here, this is how it will look like. So we will have two kind of interesting points here. The first one is here, the second one is here. And yes, this is the black The black one is the text budget constraint. And there was another question. So this is basically the final picture. And now there was a question with respect to whether there are any points on this text budget constraint where you, which like individuals are unlikely to choose. So are there any tuples of leisure and consumption which an individual is unlikely to choose given this budget constraint? And the answer is no. And the reason is simply because there are no discontinuities in this kind of in this budget constraint, and there are also no flat portions of this budget constraint. So areas where you basically work without kind of getting any income at all. So when you have a marginal tax rate of 1 or larger, then you would have situations where you wouldn't work more if you couldn't get more consumption out of it. And at the same time, if you would have discontinuities, there would be also, depending on this discontinuity, some points which you would rather not choose here in this picture. But yeah, here in the picture that we draw for the particular tax brackets that we had, we have no particular points which are, yeah, somehow avoided by the individuals. And this brings us to question number B, sub exercise number B. So say you choose to work 1,500 hours per week. What is your marginal tax rate? What is your average tax rate? Do these rates differ? Why or why not? So if you would work 1,500 hours, your income would be 1,000. So your gross income would be 1,500 times 25, which is equal to $37,500. So you are the highest tax bracket. So let me put it down there. Your marginal tax rate is 30%. Yeah, because your gross income is above 30,000. So now we need to calculate the average tax rate, and for this we need to divide the total taxes paid by income. So average tax rate is equal to total taxes paid divided by income. So total taxes paid is equal to the following. So the first $10,000 of income is untaxed. The next $20,000 of income up to 30,000 is taxed with 20%. So it's 0.2 times 20,000 plus the remaining then 7,500. This is taxed at 0.3. So 0.3 times 7,500. Yeah, keep in mind the first 10,000 is not taxed, and this is equal to 6,250. Let me just check whether this is correct, but I think it's fine. Yes, that's correct. And now we know what our income is. So the income is 37,500. So the average tax rate is equal to 6,250 divided by 37,500. And this is approximately equal to, so it's not exactly equal, but approximately equal to 16.67%. And so let's shortcut average tax rate with ATR. So ATR is lower than, let's shortcut the marginal tax rate with MT. So ATR is lower than MT due to the progressive tax system. Okay, so since the marginal tax rate is monotonically increasing in the income, so in the gross income, you will have margin. So depending, of course, on in which bracket you're landing on. If you're landing on the highest bracket, obviously the marginal tax rate will be higher than the average tax rate due to the progressive tax system. In a degressive tax system, it could be the other way around. This finishes sub-exercise B. And brings us to the last exercise of this problem set, which is exercise 6. So Filgrania's tax system has several tax brackets ranging from 0% marginal rate to a 50% marginal rate. The marginal tax rate paid by married couples under the current system is based on the last dollar earned by either spouse. Filgrania is changing its tax system, however. Under the new system, the high earner in the household will continue to be taxed as before, based on the marginal rate associated with total household income. The marginal rate for the lower earner will now be based on that worker's income only, however. Which families do you expect to be most affected by this tax change and why? So, tax change. So the tax change affects or would most affect households where one individual has a very high income and the other individual has a very low income. So why is that? Well, if you consider the old system where you looked at the last dollar earned by either of the spouses and you would pay kind of the highest marginal tax rate, then since like most of the income is generated by one individual, the other individual would basically also pay a very high marginal tax rate because the gross income, if you exclude the low income, is already high enough. and then if you add this low amount of income on top of it, you still pay kind of the high marginal tax rate. So the old system, even the low income has a high marginal tax rate. The new system, in the new system, only the high income will be taxed with a high marginal tax rate, as it is the case in the old system, but the low income will face a low marginal tax rate. So there will be no difference, no real difference for the high income, because the low income doesn't shift kind of. So with a high likelihood, the low income doesn't shift the high income in a higher tax bracket. But um, of course, the other way around, it's the case that the high income shifts the low income into a higher tax bracket if it's summed up. And therefore, under the old system, the low income would like face a very high marginal tax rate, so probably as high as the high income by itself. And under the new system, we basically start from zero with the low income, so we do not add up the two incomes in order to determine the marginal tax rate for the low income, but we basically start from the lowest tax bracket. And hence, there will be lower taxes on the low income. And therefore, for families where you have one high, like a high income and one low income, those are the families which benefit the most. On the other hand, if you have two two individuals who have the same income, there would be basically no change at all when you change from the old system to the new system. And this finishes exercise number 6 and also this week's problem set. So yeah, if you have any questions, please let me know. And also, I have to make one remark with respect to the last exercise session that I uploaded. So this was problem set number 5. So I updated Moodle in on this exercise because I made several mistakes in the exercise description. So the solutions that I uploaded on the PDF did not really match the exercise descriptions, and also the video that I did on one of the exercises. I think it was exercise number 6 on problem set 5, if I'm not mistaken. So it's written on Moodle. So please ignore the video on this exercise from problem set 5 and just use the solution PDF because I made a mistake there. Okay. Yeah, so if you have questions, please write me an email. Otherwise, see you next week.